My name is Kiera Ashford, and I'm 28 years old. My older sister, Vanessa, is 31. We grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, in a family that valued appearances above everything else. Vanessa was always the pretty one, the popular one, the one everyone noticed when we walked into a room. I was the quiet one, the smart one, they'd say, which was code for not as pretty. Mom made sure we both knew our roles early. She'd fuss over Vanessa's hair and clothes for hours before family events. With me, she'd say, "You look fine, Kiera. Go get your book." I learned to be invisible. It was easier than competing with someone I could never beat. Vanessa went to college on our parents' dime, joined a sorority, and graduated with a degree in communications that she never used. I got a partial scholarship and worked 3 jobs to cover the rest. I studied business and hospitality because I liked the idea of creating spaces where people felt welcome. Vanessa mocked me for it. "You want to work in hotels? How boring." She didn't understand, but she never tried to. After college, I moved to Savannah and got a job as an assistant manager at a small boutique hotel. It was hard work. Long hours, difficult guests, problems that needed solving at 3 in the morning. But I loved it. I loved making people stay special, turning problems into solutions, creating experiences people would remember. I worked my way up quickly. Within 3 years, I was the general manager. Within 5, I was overseeing multiple properties for a hotel group. I was good at what I did. Really good. I saved money aggressively, lived modestly, and invested carefully. By the time I was 26, I had enough saved to make a bold move. I bought a historic mansion in downtown Savannah that had been sitting empty for years. It was in terrible shape. Peeling paint, broken windows, overgrown gardens. But it had good bones. Beautiful architecture. High ceilings, original molding, a grand staircase. I saw its potential. I spent a year renovating it, pouring every dollar I had into the project. I turned it into an event venue. Ashford House, I called it. Elegant, timeless, perfect for weddings. Ashford House opened 2 years ago. It became one of the most sought-after wedding venues in Savannah within 6 months. We hosted intimate ceremonies and grand celebrations. Every detail was perfect because I made sure of it. The business was thriving. I'd built something real, something I was proud of. I didn't talk to my family much during those years. Vanessa and I had drifted apart, which was fine with me. She lived in Charleston, worked part-time at a boutique, and dated a series of men our mother approved of. Mom called occasionally to update me on Vanessa's life, but rarely asked about mine. When she did, I kept my answers vague. I didn't tell them about Ashford House. I didn't tell them I owned it. Why would I? They'd never shown interest in my accomplishments before. Last spring, everything changed. I got a call from Mom. "Kiera, wonderful news. Vanessa's engaged." I congratulated her. Mom continued, "His name is Preston Whitmore. He's from a very good family. Very successful. The wedding's going to be in October." I asked where. She said, "Savannah. Vanessa fell in love with some venue there. Ashford House. Have you heard of it?" My heart stopped. Ashford House. Mom confirmed. "Yes. It's apparently very exclusive." Vanessa's thrilled. Preston's family is paying for everything, and they spared no expense. I asked when they booked it. She said, 2 months ago. The wedding planner handled everything. Vanessa hasn't even met the owner yet. I didn't tell her. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to see how this played out. Maybe I was curious if Vanessa would figure it out. Maybe I was just tired of being invisible. Over the next few weeks, I watched the booking details come through my system. Vanessa Ashford and Preston Whitmore. October 12th. 200 guests. Full service package. Everything top tier. My assistant, Melissa, handled most of the communication with their wedding planner, a woman named Claudette who was efficient and demanding. I stayed in the background. A month later, Mom called again. "Kiera, I need to talk to you about something." Her voice was uncomfortable. I asked what it was. She hesitated. "Vanessa's been finalizing the guest list. And, well, she's decided to keep the wedding small. Intimate. Just close family and friends." I waited. She continued. You're not on the list. I felt the words hit me like a punch. I'm not invited to my sister's wedding? Mom rushed to explain. It's nothing personal. Vanessa just wants a certain kind of atmosphere. And she thought, with your work schedule and everything, you probably couldn't make it anyway. I couldn't speak. Mom kept talking. Please don't make this difficult. This is Vanessa's special day. I told her I had to go and hung up. I sat in my office staring at the wall. My sister was getting married at my venue, and she didn't even invite me. The audacity of it was breathtaking. I thought about canceling the booking, but that would reveal who I was, and I wasn't ready for that yet. I wanted to see how far this would go. A week later, Vanessa called me. That was rare. We talked maybe twice a year, usually at Mom's insistence. Hey, Kiera. Mom said she told you about the wedding. I said yes. Her voice was light, almost amused. I hope you're not mad. It's just, we're keeping it small. And honestly, we didn't think you'd want to come anyway. You're always so busy with work. Asked if she even knew what I did for work. She laughed. Some hotel stuff, right? Anyway, I just wanted to make sure there were no hard feelings. I told her there weren't. She sounded relieved. Great. I knew you'd understand. You've always been so practical. Then she said something that made my blood boil. Besides, you wouldn't really fit in with Preston's crowd anyway. They're very sophisticated. I stayed calm. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful wedding. She agreed. It will be. The venue is incredible. Ashford House. Have you heard of it? I said I had. She gushed about it for 10 minutes. The grand staircase, the gardens, the chandelier in the ballroom. It's perfect. Exactly what I've always dreamed of. I listened to her describe my venue, my hard work, my vision. And she had no idea. When we hung up, I made a decision. I wasn't going to cancel the booking. I was going to show up. And I was going to make sure Vanessa knew exactly who owned the place she thought was so perfect. The next few months were busy. I had other weddings to manage, staff to train, details to oversee. But Vanessa's wedding was always in the back of my mind. Melissa handled most of the communication with Claudette. The requests were endless. Specific flowers, custom linens, a particular shade of gold for the table settings. Everything had to be perfect, which was fine. That's what we did. But the entitlement behind every request grated on me. 2 months before the wedding, Claudette requested a meeting with the owner to discuss final details. I agreed. We scheduled it for a Tuesday afternoon. Claudette arrived with a thick binder of notes. She was in her 50s, impeccably dressed, all business. She extended her hand. You must be Ms. Ashford. I'm Claudette Monroe. Thank you for meeting with me. I shook her hand. Of course. Let's talk. We went through every detail. The timeline, the menu, the music. Claudette was thorough and professional. At the end, she said, the bride is very particular. She's been dreaming of this wedding her whole life. I asked if she'd met Vanessa yet. Claudette nodded. Several times. She's lovely. Very excited. I smiled. I'm sure she is. As Claudette was leaving, she paused. I should mention, the bride did ask if she could meet you before the wedding. She's curious about the owner. I asked what she told her. Claudette said, I told her you were very private and rarely met with clients personally. She seemed disappointed but understood. I told her that was fine. Claudette nodded and left. I sat in my office afterward thinking. Vanessa wanted to meet me, the owner, the person who'd created the venue she loved. But she didn't want me at her wedding. The irony wasn't lost on me. A month before the wedding, Mom called. Kiera, I wanted to check in. See how you're doing. I told her I was fine. She hesitated. I know the wedding situation is hard, but Vanessa really does love you. She's just caught up in planning. You understand, right? I asked if Dad was invited. She said of course. He's walking her down the aisle. So, everyone was invited. Except me. Mom continued. Maybe after the wedding, you two can reconnect. Spend some time together. I told her maybe, but I didn't believe it. After we hung up, I looked at the calendar. For weeks until the wedding. For weeks until Vanessa found out the truth. 3 weeks before the wedding, Vanessa called me again. This was unusual. She never called twice in a month. Kiera, hi. I wanted to tell you something exciting. I asked what. She said, Preston and I are doing a photo shoot at the venue next week. For our engagement pictures. I'm so excited to finally see it all set up. I reminded her the wedding was still 3 weeks away. She laughed. I know, but Claudette arranged for us to do pictures in the garden and the ballroom. I couldn't wait. I told her that sounded nice. She continued, I wish you could see it. The venue is just stunning. Honestly, Kiera, this is the kind of place where dreams come true. I asked if she'd met the owner yet.
She said no.
Apparently, she's very private. But Claudette says she's incredibly talented. I'd love to thank her personally. I told her I was sure she'd get the chance. We hung up shortly after. That night, I thought about whether to attend the photo shoot. I decided against it. I wasn't ready to reveal myself yet. Let Vanessa enjoy her excitement a little longer. The truth would come soon enough. 2 weeks before the wedding, the final details were locked in. The menu was set. The flowers were ordered. The timeline was confirmed. Everything was ready. I reviewed the file one more time. Vanessa and Preston's wedding would be beautiful. We'd make sure of it. Because that's what we did at Ashford House. We created perfection. Even for people who didn't deserve it. That weekend, I went to the venue to check on preparations. The gardens were immaculate. The ballroom was gleaming. The grand staircase had been polished. Everything looked incredible. Melissa found me in the ballroom. The bride called again. She wants to confirm we'll have rose petals on the aisle. I told her we would. Melissa hesitated. She also asked again about meeting you. She said she'd really love to thank the owner personally. I told Melissa to tell her I'd be at the wedding. Melissa looked surprised. You're going to be here? I nodded. I wouldn't miss it. Melissa left, still looking confused. I stood in the empty ballroom, imagining it filled with guests. Vanessa walking down the aisle. Everyone watching her. And me, standing in the back, waiting. 1 week before the wedding, Mom called. Kiera, I just wanted to see how you're doing. I know this week is probably hard. I told her I was fine. She said, Vanessa's so excited. She can't stop talking about the venue. She says it's like a fairy tale. Asked if Vanessa had mentioned me at all. Mom was quiet. She's just very focused on the wedding right now. But I'm sure she's thinking of you. I doubted that. We talked for a few more minutes before I made an excuse to hang up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the moment. The moment Vanessa would realize. Would she be embarrassed? Angry? Shocked? Maybe all three. Part of me felt guilty. But a bigger part of me felt justified. She'd excluded me from one of the most important days of her life. She'd laughed about it. Dismissed me. Told me I wouldn't fit in. She was about to learn exactly how much I fit in. Because I wasn't just attending her wedding. I owned it. The week of the wedding arrived. Monday and Tuesday were filled with final preparations. Vendors arrived with flowers, linens, decorations. The chef did a final menu review. The musicians did a sound check. Everything was coming together beautifully. On Wednesday, Vanessa and Preston arrived for their rehearsal. I watched from my office window as they walked through the gardens, holding hands, laughing. Preston was tall, handsome, exactly the type Mom would approve of. Vanessa looked happy, radiant. For a moment, I felt a pang of something. Not quite sadness. Maybe loss. We used to be close when we were kids. Before the comparison started. Before she became the favorite and I became invisible. I wondered if she ever missed that. Probably not. The rehearsal went smoothly. I stayed out of sight. Melissa handled everything. Afterward, I heard Vanessa gushing to Claudette about how perfect everything was. How this was exactly what she'd dreamed of. I went home that night and barely slept. Tomorrow was Thursday, then Friday, then Saturday. The wedding. The moment of truth. I still hadn't decided exactly how I'd reveal myself. I just knew I would. And I knew it would change everything. Thursday was the rehearsal dinner. It wasn't at Ashford House. They'd rented a private room at a restaurant downtown. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I heard about it from Mom, who called me afterward. It was lovely, Kiera. You have enjoyed it. I doubted that. She continued. Vanessa looked beautiful. Preston's family is wonderful, very warm and welcoming. I asked if anyone mentioned me. Mom hesitated. Your father did. He told Vanessa she should have invited you. She said it was too late to change things now. Too late. As if that was the reason. I told Mom I had to go. She said, I'll see you after the wedding. Maybe we can have lunch. I said maybe, but I wasn't planning on it. Friday was the day before the wedding. The venue was transformed. Flowers everywhere. Candles on every surface. The ballroom looked like something from a magazine. I did a final walkthrough with Melissa. Everything's perfect, she said. I agreed. It is. She looked at me. Are you really going to tell her? I nodded. Tomorrow. After the ceremony. Melissa shook her head. This is going to be dramatic. I smiled. I know. Saturday morning arrived. The wedding was at 4 o'clock. I got to the venue at 10. The staff was already there, setting up final details. I met with the catering team, the florist, the musicians. Everything was on schedule. At noon, Vanessa arrived with her bridesmaids. They went to the bridal suite, a beautiful room on the second floor with large windows and a private bathroom. I watched them from a distance. Vanessa looked nervous and excited. Her bridesmaids were loud and bubbly. I recognized a few of them from high school. None of them had ever been particularly kind to me. At 2 o'clock, guests started arriving. I watched from my office window. Mom and Dad. Preston's family. Friends I didn't recognize. Everyone dressed in expensive clothes, laughing and chatting. I'd chosen my outfit carefully. A navy blue dress, elegant but understated. Professional. I looked like the owner of a venue, which I was. At 3:30, I went downstairs. I positioned myself near the back of the ballroom where I could see everything but wasn't immediately visible. The ceremony was starting soon. This was it. At 4 o'clock, the music started. The guests stood. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle. Then Vanessa appeared at the top of the grand staircase, holding Dad's arm. She looked beautiful. Her dress was stunning. Her makeup was perfect. She was glowing. Everyone watched as she descended the stairs and walked down the aisle toward Preston. The ceremony was lovely. Traditional, elegant, exactly what Vanessa wanted. They exchanged vows. They kissed. Everyone clapped. Vanessa and Preston walked back down the aisle as husband and wife. I stayed in the back, watching. Vanessa was so happy. She had no idea I was there. No idea who owned this place. No idea what was coming. After the ceremony, guests moved to the gardens for cocktail hour while we set up the ballroom for dinner. I stayed inside, watching staff arrange tables, light candles, place centerpieces. Everything was perfect. Exactly as planned. At 6 o'clock, guests returned for dinner. I positioned myself near the entrance to the ballroom. I wanted Vanessa to see me when she walked in. I wanted to see her face when she realized. The doors opened. Vanessa and Preston entered to applause. They were announced as Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore. Everyone cheered. They walked to the head table, waving and smiling. Vanessa's eyes scanned the room, taking everything in. Then she saw me. Our eyes met. Her smile faltered. Confusion crossed her face. She looked away, then back at me, as if confirming what she'd seen. I didn't move. I just stood there, watching her. She leaned over to Preston, whispering something. He looked in my direction, then back at her. She stood up, excusing herself from the table. She walked toward me, her face a mixture of confusion and irritation. Kiera? What are you doing here? I smiled calmly. Hello, Vanessa. Congratulations on your wedding. She looked around nervously. How did you get in? This is a private event. I told her I worked here. Her eyes narrowed. You work here? At Ashford House. I nodded. I do. She crossed her arms. Well, you shouldn't be here. This is my wedding. I didn't invite you. I stayed calm. I know, but I couldn't miss it. She looked like she was about to argue. Then Melissa appeared beside me. Ms. Ashford, is everything okay? Vanessa blinked. Ms. Ashford? You're calling her Ms. Ashford? Melissa looked confused. Of course. She's the owner. The color drained from Vanessa's face. Owner?
What are you talking about?
I spoke clearly. I own Ashford House. I have for 2 years. Vanessa stared at me.
No.
That's not possible. I pulled out my phone and showed her the property deed. My name. My signature. Her eyes widened as she read it. You own this place? I nodded. I do. I bought it, renovated it, and built it into what it is today. She looked around the ballroom. At the flowers. The chandeliers. The elegant table settings. Everything she'd been gushing about for months. You did all this? I confirmed. Yes. She stepped back, her face flushing. Why didn't you tell me? I asked why she didn't invite me to her wedding. She had no answer. People were starting to notice. Guests were watching. Vanessa lowered her voice. This is my wedding, Kiera. You can't just show up. I stayed calm. I'm not just showing up. I'm working. This is my venue. I'm here to make sure everything runs smoothly. She looked like she was going to cry. I can't believe you're doing this. I asked what I was doing. I'm making sure your wedding is perfect. That's all. She turned and walked back to the head table, clearly shaken. Preston leaned over, asking what was wrong. She shook her head, not looking at me. I went back to my position near the entrance. Melissa followed. That was intense, she whispered. I agreed. It's not over yet. Dinner proceeded. I watched from the sidelines as guests ate, laughed, and toasted the happy couple. Vanessa kept glancing at me. She looked uncomfortable, distracted. Preston tried to engage her, but she was clearly rattled. After dinner, the speeches began. Preston's best man gave a funny toast. Vanessa's maid of honor gave an emotional one. Dad stood up and talked about how proud he was of Vanessa, how she'd always been special, how he knew she'd find the perfect partner. He didn't mention me. Not once. When the speeches ended, the dancing started. Vanessa and Preston had their first dance. Then Dad danced with Vanessa. Preston danced with his mother. It was all very traditional, very proper. I stayed in the background, but I could feel Vanessa's eyes on me constantly. She was still processing, still trying to understand. After an hour, Mom approached me. Kiera? What are you doing here? I explained that I owned the venue. Her eyes widened. You own this place? I nodded. She looked around, taking it in. I had no idea. Why didn't you tell us? I asked why Vanessa didn't invite me to the wedding. Mom looked uncomfortable. That's different. I told her it wasn't. Mom tried to argue, but I walked away. I didn't owe her an explanation. Around 9 o'clock, Vanessa pulled me aside. We need to talk. Privately. I led her to my office. She closed the door behind us and turned to me, her face flushed with anger. How could you do this? I asked what I'd done. You humiliated me. In front of everyone. I stayed calm. I didn't do anything except be present at my own venue. She shook her head. You knew this was my wedding. You knew I didn't invite you. And you still showed up. I asked if she realized the irony. You're getting married at a venue I built. With my money. With my work. And you didn't even know. She crossed her arms. You should have told me. I asked when. When you called to tell me I wasn't invited. When Mom said I wouldn't fit in with Preston's crowd. When should I have mentioned that I own one of the most successful venues in Savannah? Vanessa didn't have an answer. She just stared at me, tears forming. I didn't know, Kiera. I didn't know you were successful. I told her she never asked. You never wanted to know. She wiped her eyes. What do you want from me? An apology? I shook my head. I don't want anything from you, Vanessa. I just wanted you to know the truth. That the little sister you dismissed, the one you didn't think was good enough for your wedding, built this place. And you chose it because it was perfect. Because I made it perfect. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, You're right. I didn't see you. I never did. She sat down in one of the chairs. Mom and Dad always made such a big deal about me. And I let them. I let them treat you like you didn't matter. She looked at me. I'm sorry, Kiera. I really am. I didn't know what to say. I'd been waiting for an apology for so long. But now that I had it, it didn't feel the way I expected. It didn't erase the years of being invisible. The years of being dismissed. Vanessa continued. I know it's too late. But I am sorry. You deserved better. I told her she was right. I did. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Vanessa stood up. I should get back to the reception. Can we talk after this? After the wedding. I told her maybe. She nodded and left. I sat in my office alone, processing. I'd gotten what I wanted. I'd shown her the truth. I'd made her see me. But I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. I returned to the reception. The party was in full swing. People were dancing, laughing, celebrating. Vanessa was back at the head table, talking to Preston. She looked more composed now, less rattled. I stayed near the back, watching, making sure everything ran smoothly. At 10 o'clock, the cake was cut. At 11, the bouquet was tossed. By midnight, guests were starting to leave. Vanessa and Preston said their goodbyes, thanking everyone for coming. As they were leaving, Vanessa stopped in front of me. Thank you. For everything. The wedding was beautiful. I told her she was welcome. Preston extended his hand. I don't think we've officially met. I'm Preston. I shook his hand. Kiera. Vanessa's sister. He looked surprised. Her sister? I didn't realize you'd be here. Vanessa interjected. It's a long story. Preston nodded, clearly confused but too polite to press. They left shortly after. The venue emptied out. My staff started cleaning up. I walked through the ballroom, looking at the aftermath. Empty glasses. Crumpled napkins. Wilted flowers. The magic of the evening was already fading. Melissa found me. You okay? I nodded. I'm fine. She smiled. You did good tonight. The wedding was perfect. I thanked her, but I didn't feel proud. I just felt hollow. The next morning, I went back to the venue to oversee the final cleanup. Everything had to be restored, ready for the next event. As I was checking the ballroom, my phone rang. It was Vanessa. Kiera, can we talk? Please. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop downtown. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth. She looked tired but calmer than yesterday. I sat down across from her. She ordered coffee for both of us. I didn't sleep last night, she said. I kept thinking about what you said. I waited. She continued. You were right. About everything. I've been selfish. I've taken you for granted my whole life. She paused. I want to make it right. I asked how. She took a breath. I don't know yet, but I want to try. If you'll let me. I told her I appreciated that. But I also told her it would take time. You hurt me, Vanessa. For years. One apology doesn't erase that. She nodded. I know. But I want to try. I want to be a real sister to you. I told her I'd think about it. We talked for another hour. About our childhood. About Mom and Dad. About the ways we'd both been shaped by their favoritism. It was the most honest conversation we'd ever had. Over the next few weeks, Vanessa reached out regularly. Texts. Calls. Invitations to lunch. She was trying. I could see that. But I was hesitant. Guarded. I'd spent so many years being hurt by her that it was hard to trust her now. One afternoon, she invited me to her apartment. She and Preston had just moved in together. It was a beautiful place. Modern. Expensive. Very Vanessa. We sat on her couch with tea. I told Mom and Dad the truth, she said. About you owning Ashford House. About how I didn't invite you to the wedding. I asked how they reacted.
She sighed.
Mom was shocked. Dad felt guilty. They both realized how badly they've treated you. I asked if they'd called me. She shook her head. Not yet. I think they're embarrassed. I told her they should be. Vanessa agreed. I told them you deserved an apology. That we all do. She looked at me seriously. I know I can't change the past, but I want a future with you in it. A real relationship, not just obligatory holiday calls. I told her I wanted that too, but I needed her to prove it. She said she would, and for the first time, I believed her. By December, things had shifted. Vanessa and I were talking regularly, real conversations. She asked about my work, my life, my goals. She listened when I talked. She showed genuine interest. It was strange at first, but slowly it started to feel normal. We had lunch once a week. She visited Ashford House and helped me plan holiday events. She even brought Preston, who is kind and supportive. Your sister is incredibly talented, he told me once. Vanessa talks about you all the time now. That was new. Being talked about in a positive way. Being seen. Mom and Dad eventually called. Both of them. Separately. They apologized. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Dad said, I'm proud of you, Kiera. I should have told you that years ago. Mom said, I didn't see you the way I should have. I'm sorry. I accepted their apologies, but I also set boundaries. I told them I needed them to treat me and Vanessa equally moving forward. They agreed. Whether they'd actually follow through remained to be seen. But it was a start. By spring, Vanessa and I had built something new. A real sisterhood. Built on honesty and respect instead of competition and comparison. She called me one afternoon in April. I have an idea. Hear me out. I asked what it was. She said, Preston and I want to have a vow renewal next year. On our first anniversary. And I want to do it at Ashford House. But this time, I want you there. Not as the owner. As my sister. As my guest of honor. I felt tears forming. Are you serious? She said, completely. I want to do it right this time. With you by my side. I told her I'd love that. We talked about details. About how it would be smaller. More intimate. Just family and close friends. And this time, she said, I want you to walk me down the aisle. With Dad. I started crying. You really mean that? She was crying too. I do. You're my sister. You should have been there from the beginning. We both cried for a few minutes. Then we laughed. We're a mess, Vanessa said. I agreed. We are. But we're figuring it out. She said, yeah, we are. Today, I'm sitting in my office at Ashford House. It's been a year since Vanessa's wedding. A year since everything changed. The venue is thriving. We're booked solid for the next 18 months. I've hired more staff, expanded services, started getting inquiries from couples all over the country. Ashford House has become more than I ever dreamed. But the biggest change isn't the business. It's my relationship with Vanessa. We talk almost every day now. We have plans to travel together next month. She's become my friend. My real sister. Not the perfect one. Just the real one. Last week, she came by the venue with a gift. A framed photo from her wedding. It was of the grand staircase, decorated with flowers and candles. I want you to have this, she said. As a reminder. Asked what it was a reminder of. She smiled. That beautiful things can come from painful moments. That we can choose to grow instead of staying broken. I hugged her. Thank you. She hugged me back.
No.
Thank you. For not giving up on me. For being strong enough to show me the truth. I told her we both showed up. That's what matters. My sister laughed when I wasn't invited to her wedding. She didn't expect who owned the venue. But what happened after was something neither of us expected. Forgiveness.
Growth.
A real relationship. Vanessa lost a perfect wedding narrative. But she gained something better. A sister. And I gained something I'd been missing my whole life. Someone who finally saw me. Not as the invisible one. But as someone worth knowing. Worth celebrating. Worth loving. That's not revenge. That's redemption. And it's the greatest success I've ever achieved. Looking back now, I realized the wedding was a turning point for both of us. Vanessa had spent her whole life being celebrated without ever asking if she deserved it. I'd spent mine being overlooked without ever demanding to be seen. We were both playing roles assigned to us by parents who didn't know any better. The venue reveal wasn't about humiliating her, though I'd be lying if I said part of me didn't enjoy the shock on her face. It was about breaking the pattern, showing her that the sister she dismissed had built something extraordinary, that I was worthy of respect, of acknowledgement, of love. What I didn't expect was how it would change her, how seeing my success would make her reevaluate her own life, her own choices, her own treatment of me. One night a few months after the wedding, she told me something I'll never forget. "I've been thinking about what you said, about me never asking about your life." She looked genuinely pained. "The truth is, I was scared to ask. Because what if you were more successful than me? What if you were happier? That would mean everything Mom and Dad told us was wrong." I understood that. We'd both been trapped by the same lie. That love was conditional. That worth was comparative. That there could only be one winner. Preston turned out to be good for Vanessa. He came from money, but wasn't defined by it. He actually worked, built his own career, and valued substance over appearance. He told me once, "Vanessa's changing, becoming more real. I think you have a lot to do with that." I told him we were helping each other, which was true. Vanessa's willingness to see her mistakes helped me release my resentment. Her efforts to build a real relationship gave me something I'd wanted for years. A sister. Not a rival. Not a comparison point. Just a sister. We started doing things together. Cooking dinner. Going to movies. Taking weekend trips. Normal sister things. Things we should have been doing all along. One Saturday, we were walking through the market in downtown Savannah. She stopped at a flower stand and bought 2 bouquets. She handed me one. "What's this for?" I asked. She smiled. "Just because. Sisters give each other flowers, right?" I hugged her.
Yeah.
They do. These small moments meant more to me than grand gestures ever could. They were proof that she was trying, that we were building something real. Mom and Dad's transformation was slower, but still significant. They started calling me more often, asking about Ashford House, about my life. Dad even visited the venue one afternoon, walking through with quiet admiration. "You built this?" he asked, touching the restored molding in the ballroom. I told him I did. He shook his head slowly. "I had no idea you were capable of something like this." I asked if he thought I wasn't capable. He looked uncomfortable. "I just never paid attention. I'm sorry, Kiera. I should have seen you." It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was honest. And that mattered. Mom struggled more with her guilt. She'd call and try to overcompensate, offering to help with things I didn't need help with, sending gifts I didn't ask for. Finally, I had to sit her down. "Mom, I don't need you to fix everything overnight. I just need you to be present, to see both your daughters equally."
She cried.
"I don't know if I can make up for all those years." I told her she couldn't. "But you can do better going forward. That's all I'm asking." She nodded. "I'll try." And she has been. It's not perfect. Old habits resurface sometimes.
But she catches herself now.
Corrects course. That's progress. Last month, Vanessa and I did something we'd never done before. We went through old family photo albums together, looking at pictures from our childhood. "Look at this one," she said, pointing to a photo of us as kids. We were maybe 6 and 9, sitting on a swing set, both smiling. "We look happy." I agreed. We were. Before everything got complicated. She closed the album. "I want that back. That simplicity. That closeness." I told her we were getting there. "It just takes time." She looked at me seriously. "Do you forgive me? Really?" I thought about it. Forgiveness wasn't a single moment. It was a process. A choice I made every day to let go of hurt and choose connection instead. "I'm working on it," I told her honestly. "Some days are easier than others. But I want to forgive you. And I think I'm getting there." She squeezed my hand. "That's all I can ask for." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. 2 sisters. Finally learning how to be family.
The doorbell rang.
It was Preston, picking Vanessa up for dinner. "Kiera, you should come with us," he offered. I started to decline, but Vanessa insisted. "Please. We want you there." So I went, and we had a lovely evening, laughing, talking, being together. It felt normal, natural, like this was how it should have always been. A few weeks ago, I had a meeting with a potential client, a young woman named Sarah who wanted to book Ashford House for her wedding. As we walked through the venue, she told me her story. My sister and I aren't close. She's the successful one. I've always felt invisible next to her. I stopped walking. Tell me more. She explained how her sister got all the attention, all the praise. How she'd learned to shrink herself to avoid comparison. It sounded painfully familiar. When we finished the tour, I told her something I don't usually share with clients. I understand what you're going through. My sister and I had a similar dynamic. She didn't even invite me to her wedding. Sarah's eyes widened. Really? What happened? I told her the story. About owning the venue. About the reveal. About the aftermath. But here's what I learned, I said. Sometimes people can change. If they're willing to do the work. My sister and I have a real relationship now. It took time and honesty and a lot of difficult conversations. But it was worth it. Sarah looked thoughtful. Do you think I should talk to my sister? I told her only she could answer that. But if there's any part of you that wants a relationship with her, it might be worth trying. She thanked me and booked the venue. As she left, she said, I hope my wedding turns out as well as your sister's did. I smiled. Me too. Today is Vanessa and Preston's first anniversary. True to her word, they're having a vow renewal ceremony at Ashford House. It's small, just 30 people, family and close friends. I'm wearing a beautiful dress Vanessa helped me pick out. Not as a vendor or owner, as a guest, as family. The ceremony is set up in the garden. White chairs, flower arrangements, soft music playing. I'm standing near the front, next to Mom and Dad. Vanessa appears at the garden entrance. She's wearing a simple white dress, holding a small bouquet. Preston stands at the altar, smiling at her. Dad is on one side of Vanessa. I'm on the other. Together, we walk her down the aisle. My heart is so full I think it might burst. This is what I'd been missing. Not the wedding invitation, but the acknowledgement, the inclusion, the love. We reach the altar. Dad kisses Vanessa's cheek and steps back. I do the same. She squeezes my hand before letting go. Thank you, she whispers. For everything. I whisper back. Thank you for trying. The ceremony is beautiful, short and meaningful. Vanessa and Preston reaffirm their commitment to each other. But they also say something unexpected. Preston speaks first. This past year taught me a lot about family, about making room for people who matter, about choosing love over pride. Vanessa continues, I want to take a moment to acknowledge someone important. My sister, Kiera. She looks at me. A year ago, I made a terrible mistake. I didn't include you in one of the most important days of my life. But you showed me grace anyway. You showed me what real strength looks like. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for being here now. I'm crying. So is she. So is half the audience. After the ceremony, we gather for dinner. It's relaxed and intimate. People are laughing, sharing stories, celebrating. Dad makes a toast. To Vanessa and Preston. And to second chances. Both in marriage and in family. Everyone raises their glasses. Later, Vanessa and I stand on the terrace overlooking the garden. This is perfect, she says. Exactly what I wanted. I agree. It is. She looks at me. I'm proud of you, Kiera. Of everything you've built. This venue, your business, your life. You did all this on your own. I tell her it means a lot to hear her say that. She smiles. I should have said it years ago. But I'm saying it now. And I'll keep saying it. As the evening winds down, I stand alone for a moment in the ballroom. The same room where Vanessa's first wedding took place. Where everything changed. The space looks different now. Softer. More intimate. But the magic is still there. Melissa finds me. Beautiful ceremony. I agree. She smiles. A year ago, did you ever think you'd end up here? Standing at your sister's vow renewal as her guest of honor? I shake my head. Never. She says, life's funny that way. It is. A year ago, I was hurt, angry, invisible. I showed up to my sister's wedding not out of love, but out of a need to be seen.
To prove something.
And I did prove something. But what I gained was so much more than vindication. I gained a sister. A real one. I gained a relationship with my parents that, while imperfect, is based on honesty instead of pretense. I gained peace. The kind that comes from choosing forgiveness over resentment. From building bridges instead of burning them. As guests start to leave, they stop to congratulate me. Not just on the beautiful venue, but on being such a good sister. Vanessa's lucky to have you, one aunt says. I smile. I'm lucky to have her too. And I mean it. Because the truth is, we both needed this journey. She needed to learn humility. I needed to learn my worth. We needed to see each other as people instead of roles. And we needed to choose each other. Not because we had to, but because we wanted to. That choice made all the difference. The last guest leaves around midnight. Vanessa and Preston stay to help clean up, despite my protests. You don't have to do this, I tell them. Vanessa shakes her head. I want to. This is your place. Your work. The least I can do is help. We work together, the three of us, picking up glasses and folding chairs. It's simple work, but it feels meaningful. When we're done, we sit on the porch steps, tired but content. Thank you for tonight, Vanessa says. For letting us do this here. For being part of it. I tell her I wouldn't have missed it. Preston stands. I'll get the car. He kisses Vanessa and heads to the parking lot. Vanessa and I sit alone in the quiet. I've been thinking, she says, about what you said last year. About me never asking about your life. She pauses. I want to change that. Really change it. I ask what she means. She says, I want to be involved. In your life, your business, your dreams. Not just surface level. Really involved. Like real sisters. I smile. I'd like that. She hugs me. I love you, Kiera. I don't think I've said that enough. But I do. I hug her back. I love you too. Preston pulls up. Vanessa stands. Same time next week for lunch? I nod. Same time. I watch them drive away, then lock up the venue. As I walk to my car, I look back at Ashford House. It's dark now, quiet. But it's still beautiful. This place changed my life. Not just because it made me successful, but because it became the catalyst for healing, for transformation, for becoming visible. My sister laughed when I wasn't invited to her wedding. She didn't expect who owned the venue, but neither of us expected what would come after. Forgiveness.
Growth. Love.
Real, messy, imperfect love. That's the story I'll tell people. Not about revenge or vindication, but about two sisters who found their way back to each other. Through honesty, through pain,
Through choice.
and that's a better ending than I ever could have imagined.